Black Power, shouting out to those of you in Botswana, other places that are connecting with us. If those accounts are real, most definitely salute. Let's link up, let's move forward. This week, I had a few conversations with different people. Some have been able to accumulate different amount of privilege within this white nationalist, capitalist, racist system we are living in, and some of them feel that it's the victim's fault. Some of them feel, we still need to make this money and exchange in their economy. Some people believe that we still need to be supporting their politics. But again, all of this has proven to our detriment. Supporting or voting for the lesser evil, still gets a agenda that is destroying us carried out against us. You figure even under a black president right now, black people are being killed every 18 hours in record numbers. People lost their homes in record numbers. And a lot of folks just want to say, well, he's only one person, this, that, and the other. But again, you see a white president go in there and play the same games but get their agenda carried out. But you figure domestically, at the very least, Obama could have signed an executive order. He could have used military intervention, or at the very least, he could have claimed a state of emergency. Um, Women and children are being killed out here in these streets for pretty much no reason. None of these officers are being held accountable, um, getting put right back out into society, encouraging more to do the same thing because they see others getting away with, not just getting away with it, but making big bucks off of this. So you figure black people came out in record numbers both times and got a black person in the highest office, and you're saying it's nothing that can be done. So that tells you it's time to stop going that route. To do the same thing and expect a different result is insanity. So one of the things we see that they have always tried to stop and prevent is from black nationalism. Whether it was Garvey, Malcolm X, and even Dr. King towards the end, start pushing black nationalist ideology. That's when they took him out, not when he was speaking about having a dream. But once he said he saw he had walked us into a burning house, and he understood then that it was about black nationalism, organizing ourselves, getting strong enough, doing for self. That's when they took him out. So that tells us that's the answer. And it's not as easy as going to vote for one of them, but that's what has to be done. Talk to a few people who have a little more privilege under this system, and they feel the victims are getting themselves killed. It's the victims for doing the drugs. It's the victims for going to prison. It's the victims for losing their homes. But these people are being terrorized and victimized in a similar fashion. Some of these people live in three of the wealthiest black communities in this nation: Windsor Hills, View Park, Baldwin Hills, Ladera Heights. And the same way people in so-called lower areas are being terrorized, they are being terrorized by an oil field that sits right in the center of them through fracking and polluting the environment and creating diseases amongst them, doing property damage to their homes. But yeah, you allow a system like this to destroy mass numbers of people, sooner or later it catches up with you. One of the questions people have been, well, not one, but a few questions people have been asking for the past few weeks is how can they join Blackson 365? What is our mission? What coalitions are we involved with as far as membership? We are a small group that was born out of a think tank in 2011, and we saw the need to further educate, organize, and get our people prepared for what was coming. And we're a small group based in LA. We have a couple members in a couple other cities. We got a couple comrades in prison, but for the most part, we do function out of LA. Much of what we do, we share with you on social media. As far as our overall mission, that is on our website, but basically just liberating and advancing our people and our interests, getting us to where we can protect ourselves, where 7-year-old Ayanna Jones sleeping on her grandmother's couch don't have to worry about some police run up in there killing her and getting away with it. Um, Coalitions, we are working with a few different coalitions on a few different fronts. Some of you are familiar with the food program we're doing in Leimert Park with the Black Dot Empowerment Network, but we are also working with other groups, individuals in different coalitions, a lot of protests or more radical groups we work with, because we are in those times, y'all, where we gotta turn it up. They're turning it up on us, and trying to be comfortable with it is not going to work. We're in the 13th week of the prison strike. For us, again, this time of year especially, we have to acknowledge our comrade, our brother Darren Faison Harris has been locked up 10 years now on 2 counts of criminal threats. He and I basically responded to an elder brother who was called a nigger at a Wiener Schnitzels. Sheriff came and threatened that brother, so Faison and I went to speak to the owner. The owner operated both the Wiener Schnitzel and the Quiznos right there on Slauson, just west of La Brea by Ladera Park. I went inside the Quiznos. I spoke with the owner. Darren went over and was telling customers at the Wiener Schnitzel what had just happened. At one point, he had a verbal exchange with the employees who had just called the other brother a nigger, but the sheriffs came and then charged us with all types of stuff initially. In the preliminary trial, it was found he wrote a false report. That's why I got out, because some of the stuff he said, the witnesses said about me, the witnesses didn't even recognize me when we went to court. So that proved he wrote a false report. But they went ahead, used it against Faison, and 10 years later, we are still fighting that. One of the things we need is a people's attorney who will step up. One of the problems we've been having is that parents have been hiring attorneys and other so-called spokespeople who have done nothing, taken the money and ran. A couple attorneys came back and basically said they couldn't do nothing. They said it was more than just legal issues. It was political and personal vendettas involved. And we believe Judge Mark Arnold down there in Torrance is one of the ones. He threatened both of us when we were in his court. So we know he most definitely is playing some role in this. Right now, Prop 57 just passed. So again, there will be an attempt to put a petition in on Faison's behalf for that. But what has happened with Prop 47, Prop 36, they've been rejected because they keep sending his petitions to the desk of the same judge that's sentencing. And according to California law, that's not supposed to be happening. But again, as we're exposing in all these areas, the police ain't protecting and serving. They stalking and murdering. Corporations aren't doing fair business. They preying on and taking over. These judges are engaged in miscarriages of justice. So again, that's why we say we have to completely break away from all this madness and build our own. And no point of it is it good. We just saw in the Walter Scott case where they put a black person in there. Out of 12 people, 11 white, 1 black person, and they get 1 black person to be the one to sabotage that case. As it's been revealed the past few days, he himself was looking at charges, and they mysteriously got dismissed against him during the trial, and so he ends up being the one to sabotage this brother who we all saw get shot down in the back. And then after the pig shoots him down in the back, he plants a weapon. And this dude talking about it didn't look malicious. One of the main things we have to abandon is looking at our own negative. They have been able to get us to hold us back, whether it's black police getting in there and they train you to look at your own people as the bigger criminal rather than seeing them for their historical position as the greatest criminals. Well, it's getting blacks into their militaries and sending you overseas to do to other countries what they did to our ancestors in Africa, to what they did to the Native Americans here. It's liberating our mind using our own African-centered thinking and figuring out what's going on and stop participating in helping them move forward. Also, right now, as far as the prison strike, encouraging people to participate in the no-fly zone. Basically, This is the time of year when their airlines make the most money, so asking people to look for alternative means of transportation. Stop giving them all of these large amounts of dollars. Something I saw this week that I do need to caution people are now following Sean King in this injustice boycott. You figure a lot of us have been organized and pushing this for many years now, and they've done their best to suppress, mislead, conceal what we were doing to stop it. But now so-called white savior is with it, so they throwing him out there. You got to question if this dude was really about the movement. Why are they giving him such a voice on the New York Daily Post? That is most definitely a capitalist, corporate platform that pushes white nationalist interests. Also, as I was telling y'all a few weeks ago, he jumped on the bandwagon of Hillary Clinton. The Clintons have engaged in the mass genocide, the mass gentrification, the mass imprisonment of our people. But he jumped on her bandwagon and was encouraging people to support her. So again, you got to think critically now why they having him in front of this boycott movement, and you figure sooner or later it's to co-opt it. He's already said, it's similar to the bus boycott that was 380 some days, but we understand that should have never ended. That should have transitioned over into black transportation. So you gotta watch again when somebody like him is now put in front of our movement, a white person again put in front of our movement. How is he gonna co-opt it, try to compromise it? As far as the buy black, right now we need more promotions. If you got a business, most definitely promote it, but also help promote others. If it's any black business that you do business with, promote them. People Facebook Live everything else. So Facebook Live, when you go to a black business, if they got any sales, special promotions going, help get them out there. But again, we still have to redirect that economic investment into our own. Also, people now are starting to question, what are black businesses doing for the people? How is that being reciprocated? Because again, for a few years now, a lot of people have started transitioning over to putting more support into black businesses, and some of them we see are getting a lot more business. So people now are starting to say, okay, what are y'all doing to help? Y'all getting the collective finances, so what are y'all gonna do? This past week we stepped up the pushing of the general strike. People have called for mass action on January 20th, the day of Trump's inauguration. But studying other movements, we've seen that when you extend that effort, instead of just a 1 day, turn it to a 1 week. We're calling from January 1st to January 20th. If people look at not going to work, not going to school, reduce your spending as much as possible for 20 days, that can be a serious blow to this system. But for us, again, black people, we need to really start considering striking, considering starting your own business. Stop, allowing them to exploit your labor. Taking more control of our economic interests. If you sit up and you figure how much food we as a black people eat, and then you study and try to picture how much land that takes up, but yet we are only being allowed to benefit from that exchange on a retail end, meaning we get the most exploited on that end. We're not controlling that land that all the food comes from, that feeds all of us. We have no or very little interest. The few black farmers we have are constantly under different attacks, whether it's trying to compete with these GMO farm fields and other synthetic farm fields. But again, these are gradual steps that we have to take. And again, it starts with the protesting that's going on, the boycotting that's going on, organizing strikes and reinvesting your labor into our own, but also court moratoriums. one group I shared that with. Some of their leadership came and said they couldn't endorse it. They believe that people should still comply and form different levels of paperwork. That way it will at least be on record. But what is it being on record producing? That's where we're in right now. All right. We've made statements. We have shit documented. At this point, it's not stopping the murdering. It's not stopping people losing their homes. It's not stopping people being kidnapped and thrown in these prisons. So that's what we're looking at. A court moratorium. Basically, you stop going and making it so convenient for them to extort all that money out your pocket, for them to falsely imprison you. The more they have to chase down, track down, and invest in getting each and every person, the less they're going to engage in that. But the more you go, we have the Hill Street Courthouse here where a lot of traffic violations, or so-called violations, are dealt with. And on both sides of this massive, I think 11-story building, there's a line that goes around both sides, damn near connecting on both sides. And 10 years ago, it was being reported it was 2,000 people. And then it was only a line on one side, but now you got a line on both sides, and most of those people go before a judge, and within 2 minutes they say guilty, no contest, and they paying not only fines and fees, but quadruple or worse, because they add on these penalty assessments, court assessments, and all this other crap. But we keep financing that madness, allowing it to exist. So a court moratorium, you basically are taking away the power. And yeah, there are consequences, but there are consequences to all of this. We keep going along with it, then it's going to be consequences for that. So please do consider that. Those of you who are with it, try to educate and encourage more. Also, we could look to South Korea right now. They just impeached their president, but it came through mass protests. And again, folks say, well, we're just a small number. But whether it's 13 or whatever percent, we are producing a lot within this country. Whether it's through our labor, through our spending power, but we get all of that under control, we can make more advancements. Not even sure what. As far as the fake news, now you see they're starting to backpedal on the fake news. They're starting to the Washington Post and others who were trying to run with this. People are starting pulling out all the different lies and fake stories they've been telling. So they're starting to admit that the source they got the information from was fake. But people have already looked up that site who put out the list of so-called blacklisted sites, alternative sites to not listen to, and found that the person who put that out used to work for the Department of Justice. So once again, you see how covert these people operate, but they will use these platforms and just straight out lie to you. So again, you have to question, why are you using CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC, CBS as your main source of information? If you listen or follow all the different alternative sources and even line them up with those sources, you can gradually extract what adds up to the truth, or what appears to be more the truth, instead of just listening to this one side that keeps lying to you. So again, social media is helping to discredit all of these fake corporations, mass corporations who have been lying to us for too long. But they're also trying to use this fake news story to further challenge the Electoral College, which, yeah, in a true voting system, it should be about the popular vote. But they're doing this, trying to get Hillary in there. And those of you who was talking about vote for Jill Stein, look at what she's doing now. She's one of the main ones who is pushing this recount, that will benefit Hillary. So that's why we was telling you we can't run with whoever just because. Today we are getting back out in Lamert Park, the Break Bread program. We appreciate, again, the sisters and other people who supported us last week, prior weeks. There's been a lot of you pledging to come help this week. We most definitely look forward to you Because again, these efforts are still band-aids based off of what people need. People need a right to have access to land, resources, and housing. And that ultimately is what we are trying to push towards. But in the meantime, yeah, whether it's food, blankets, generators, hygiene products, jackets, first aid kits, tarps, all of these things are needed. Any of you that are in a position to sponsor some hotel vouchers, allowing people to go stay in a hotel for a couple days, a week, a month, whatever you're in a position to do. All of these things are needed. It's just not Leimert Park. We got Skid Row. If you look under these freeways, when you drive under them, all throughout the city, there are encampments of people who have lost their homes, now living on the streets. Your help is needed. Also, if you see police out there preying on people, attacking people, take your time, pay attention, put your cameras on them. If you can, do more. But we got to take care of us. All power to the people.